Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. The Canterbury Tales. We've reached it. And you might be wondering, what is it that we have reached? And the answer, my friends, is the first true English work. Why? Do you remember? This is important. As we've gone through and we've traced the development of the English language, as we've gone through the course, what do we start with? Beowulf. Where did that come from? Oral tradition of the Anglo-Saxons. The Arthurian legends. Where'd they come from? Oral tradition of the Normans. Now guess what we have? Boom! The first true English work. Where does it come from? England. Wow. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Talking about Geoffrey Chaucer, the first thing I like to do is to kind of give a comparison. Everybody's familiar with Will Shakespeare, right? This is his collected works. That's a lifetime achievement there. Here's something that a lot of folks are not aware of. This is the collected works of Chaucer. Look at that. Put them side by side. Of course, Shakespeare's done more, but wow, Chaucer is no slouch. A lot of people just associate him with the Canterbury Tales, which is A-okay to do, but he wrote many other works. He was renowned during his lifetime. He was, today we would say famous. Right, awesome. Here's what's going on. We have entered into today what we call the High Middle Ages. The Crusades have begun, but we haven't quite reached the Renaissance yet. The Renaissance is going to come next. We're getting closer and closer to the Renaissance. Because of the Crusades, we have some important things happening, and they're associated with the High Middle Ages as well as with the Renaissance. We have the growth of cities with people traveling around now. The manor starts to slowly fade away. And with it, we have the gradual lessening of feudalism with the three estates. Remember the three estates? We've been saying it many times. The nobility, the clergy, and the commoners. Of course, we still have nobles, we're going to still have commoners, we're going to still have, all those, but as this slowly starts to fade away, it starts to be replaced with a social pyramid that we're more familiar with today. Of course, we're always going to have the upper class and the lower classes, but during the High Middle Ages, we're starting to see a diversity in the social pyramid and the rise of the middle class, which is really exciting. And of course, this will continue as we move further into the Renaissance. The Canterbury Tales was one of the first books to be printed in England. Of course, the first book to be printed was the Bible. The Canterbury Tales was one of the first, and it reached a mass audience. Of note, literacy during this time is starting to increase, but it's moving up very slowly. So the overwhelming portion of the population is illiterate. When they encountered the Canterbury Tales, it would not be like we do when we sit down with the text and read from the text. When people during this time encountered the Canterbury Tales, it would be read to them. So this is interesting, even though we're getting closer and closer, right? We're moving away from the Middle Ages, getting closer to the Renaissance. The idea of reading by listening is still the rule. So when we talked about the Scots back in Beowulf's time, right? That was just listening. That's still going on here. What happens with the Canterbury Tales is we have the idea of the pilgrimage. Pilgrimages were very common during the Middle Ages, and what happened is you would leave your home and go on a journey. That sounds familiar, journey. And oftentimes, you would go to a holy place. If you were wealthy enough, you could actually take a trip to the Holy Lands, but more than likely, you would take a trip, say for example, to a special church that would be in a different town, so you got to get out of your home, be like what today would call going on a vacation, right? You'd journey with a group of people for safety. Then you would reach that church, you would spend some time praying and resting. And so what would happen is it would give you some enrichment. Then you would go back home and you would bring with you the stories that were told by other people, right? Because we were talking and telling stories as we're entertaining ourselves, as well as the whole idea of this journey that we took. The story itself you would share with other people. And of course, you would share the spiritual enrichment that you got from going on this journey. Wow. Journey of the hero. That's what we talked about before. But an interesting thing is happening in the Canterbury Tales. As the three estates break down in the High Middle Ages, we get the diversity of society. And guess what? We get to become a hero. Right? An ordinary person, an ordinary pilgrim becomes the hero in his or her life. We're starting to see ideas grow, develop, and change as we move through the period literature, which is wonderful. Oh, it's wonderful. And that's why I always tell people, this is one of the reasons why we study literature. It helps us to learn not only about different people and different times in the past, but how they thought of themselves, how they viewed their position in the world, what was their relationship to each other, what was their relationship to God. Wow, and all of this is woven into the Canterbury Tales. I'm a big fan of the Canterbury Tales, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do. And until we get to see each other again, be well, do good work, and keep in touch.